Paula Thornton live at Pogue and Forsyth to explain the changes. Paula.
When you lease a car, you have to pay taxes on the full purchase price of the car, even if you only hang on to it for a couple of years. But a new law will change that. Hot summer nights, that's the theme of this year's Decatur celebration. And they're pulling in platinum selling artists and forming new relationships. So there's a lot to look forward to in the coming months right here in downtown Decatur. It is the giving season, but unfortunately for millions of Americans, it means plunging further into debt. Downtown Decatur has gotten a major facelift, but it hasn't spread all the way over to Franklin Street just yet. Early this morning, police rushed to this home after receiving a call about a man with a gun, and it ended with a shootout between the gunman and police. They're expanding from their location here on Grand all the way down here to Fairview. Curb appeal, it makes your property attractive to potential buyers and improves the community as a whole. And here in Niantic, they're offering cash incentives to help revitalize the neighborhood. 7-month-old Bailey may be small, but make no mistake, she is a full-grown horse. This is the biggest she'll ever get at 31 inches. On average, they sell each name out for less than a dime. U.S. Marshal Chuck Redpath.
Are you guys behind us?
Speeds down an alley in an unmarked SUV. He makes an arrest at a home on the east side of Springfield. This is Operation Falcon, multiple agencies in Sangamon County doing a major warrant sweep. There's a list of more than 60 names, mostly narcotics and weapons warrants.
This is the second prong approach to our attempts to reduce the violence.
Spotters in the community alert law enforcement about the location of suspects.
I'll put your hands behind your back. Yeah, warrant for your arrest.
At the second house, police arrest 2 men. The alley behind the police station becomes crowded with suspects to be booked.
Ready? Oh, heck yes.
We get into another unmarked vehicle with the head of the street crimes unit, Sergeant Jerry Castles.
I'm willing to bet that the majority of the targets don't know they're being targeted. What they do know is that if an associate is or a friend, then just maybe.
At the first house, they're celebrating a birthday when police arrive.
There's a lot of times no dignity in our response in their mind.
Castles and Officer Brian Harhausen are keeping their eyes peeled. They're collecting cash, drugs, and cars, all to be confiscated.
Go ahead.
An Illinois State Police plane flies overhead, helping spot targets. Using all these resources and officers,
I'm gonna go around the back.
hoping it will send a message to criminals.
Same 392, you can scratch 66 off.
Loud and clear. They are still looking for more information on the gun violence and for the fugitives. They ask that anyone with info call Sangamon County Crime Stoppers. We've also added additional footage that we didn't have time to show to our website. Just head to WANDtv.com. For the I-Team, Paula Thornton, WAND News. When we answer the phone, we trust the name on the caller ID is the person we are speaking with. But that's not always the case.
It showed up on my caller ID, J.L. Stewart, my exact spelling of my last name.
Jody Stewart picked up the phone when she saw her own name and phone number on the screen.
To put J.L. Stewart on my phone, that got me to answer my phone, because I don't answer my phone.
A man on the other end asked her if she wanted to lower her credit card rates.
And that's when I said, wait a minute, no, can you send me something in the mail?
But the scammer was persistent.
He was very slick because when he knew I caught on to him, he still wasn't going to give up.
Stewart didn't give him her credit card number and hung up. This scam is just one example of caller ID spoofing, where you can use a website or an app to fake out the caller ID.
So this technology's been around for 15, 20 years. The problem we see now is it's now readily available, even for cell phones, for consumers to use to either play a joke on a friend, but it can be used for wrongdoing too.
Cyber expert Andrew Garrett has seen it a lot.
I could make it, for instance, look like the IRS, and I'm validating information. You give me that information, I now have enough to really create some havoc in your life.
So we decided to try it out. Garrett has an app on his Android called Spoof Card. He plugged in the IRS's number, called me, and the IRS showed up on my caller ID.
Anybody could do this. Anybody could run the scam on you.
You can't block spoofed calls, but
The phone records often show who actually called you.
The best way to protect yourself is to not give out personal information. Stewart's glad she didn't and even called her credit card company to verify.
She said he was fishing. It was a fraudist. Glad you didn't do this.
Glad she didn't do it because she could have been spoofed, fished, and robbed all at the same time. Under federal law, caller ID spoofing is legal, but if you use it for fraudulent purposes, fraud is still fraud, and you're breaking the law. For the I-Team, Paula Thornton, WAND News.
Well, we told you in June about people we found living under the Franklin Street Bridge in Decatur, but now they've been kicked out. WAND's Paula Thornton live in Decatur tonight to explain.
Most of us would not think to call this home, but for some homeless folks in Decatur, it has been, at least for the summer. But this morning, IDOT trucks came in and workers removed all of their belongings. Under the Franklin Street Bridge,
You do get a lot of lone rangers that want to go alone outside.
several homeless people called this nook home.
Over the last couple years, there have been people living there off and on.
But now the mattresses, tattered blankets, and belongings that filled this space are gone. IDOT workers hauling away those few possessions and power washing the concrete.
It'd be just like trespassing out on 72. There's a safety issue there.
Reverend Stacy Brohard at the Good Samaritan Inn has seen IDOT clean out the area more than once this year.
It does make it very difficult for the people underneath there because they've found shelter. It uproots them to where they have to find shelter again.
He says many times folks who live under the bridge don't really fit in elsewhere.
Most of the time they don't want to be institutionalized. Some people have difficulty with the rules that the shelters have.
Organizations try to do what they can. Good Samaritan feeds the hungry at lunchtime.
Do our best to keep them fed.
At Northeast Community Fund,
We have backpacks, and we put different items in those backpacks.
and even though the makeshift homes aren't here,
It hasn't solved the problem, it's maybe just moved the problem.
although they may return,
There's a group of survivalists out there that are going to stay where they want to stay.
whether outside by circumstance or choice. Those aren't the only organizations that help the homeless in Decatur, of course. There's also the Oasis Day Center, a big help. I'm also told that the shelters in town generally do have enough spaces for our homeless population. Live in Decatur, Paula Thornton, WAND News.